Imagine that you've prepared for months for your job in the United States. You've done your technical prep, you've networked with all the right people and applied to multiple companies, and now you have your job offer. Suddenly, the Trump administration now says that your employer needs to pay $100,000 to sponsor your H1-B visa.
I think, Sean, you agree with that? $100,000 per.
What do? Sounds crazy, right? The Trump administration in the last 2 weeks has proposed 2 changes to the H1-B visa, which shakes up the entire way how you get your visa in the United States and how you work in the United States. Watch this video to understand what these changes are and how they impact you. Now, for the uninitiated, the H1B visa is the most popular visa on the basis of which international students as well as international workers start their careers in the US. Every year, there are around 5 lakh applications for the H1B visa, out of which the US government randomly selects 85,000 applications or 85,000 people to give the H1B visa to. Originally, when the program was launched, it was meant to attract the best skilled workers in areas of the US economy where there is a dearth of workers. But according to the Trump administration, this H1B has been abused over the decades and is now being used as a tool by companies to underpay international students and to undermine jobs for American people.
One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come to the United States of America.
So first, let's take a look at the $100,000 fee that is being proposed by the Trump administration. On 19 September, Donald Trump actually signed a proclamation which required companies to pay a $100,000 fee in addition to the existing application fee of the H1B for all those people who wish to apply for an H1B in the United States. Now, at that time, the announcement was done suddenly and this caused a lot of chaos and panic. International students started panicking whether they would get jobs in the US after taking tens of lakhs of rupees as loans. And people who already were on an H1B and had travel plans to different countries, their own home country or otherwise, started cancelling those plans for the fear that they would not be allowed to re-enter the United States. But now that we have the benefit of time, in the last 2 weeks, we've gone through the proclamation and we have found out that this $100,000 fee actually does not affect everyone. So who does it affect and who is it aimed at? This $100,000 fee that has been proposed by the Trump administration actually targets only those people who apply for an H1B directly from outside the United States. There are companies, especially in IT services such as Infosys and TCS, that directly apply for H1B visas for their employees so that they can send their employees to the client side in the United States. This proclamation actually is targeted to such H1B applications. So what does this mean? This means that if you're already in the United States and you have an H1B, the $100,000 fee is not applicable to you. You do not need to pay the $100,000 fee whether you are renewing your H1B or whether you are changing your employer. This also does not seem to apply to students who are in the United States. We read the proclamation very carefully and what we found out is that the proclamation clearly states that the $100,000 fee is a fee to be paid by the employer if the person is applying for the H1B from outside the United States and wishes to enter the United States. Now, if you're a student in the United States, first and foremost, you're not on an H1B. You're on an F1 visa. And once you complete your education in the United States and start to work, you will be on an OPT. And once your OPT duration is done, you will apply for an H1B from within the United States. So there is no question of you entering the United States on an H1B, which is why if you are going from the international student path to an H1B, you probably do not have to pay the fee. So this is great news because what it means is that the 85,000 slots which were available through the lottery system for the H1B will now almost always certainly be filled by those students who are already in the United States. Because the cost of applying for an H1B directly from outside the United States has now skyrocketed so much that companies such as TCS and Infosys are going to avoid doing it. How much of a benefit will you as a student actually get? So if you take a look at the data from 2023, 2024 and even 2025, what you notice is that close to 50% of the H1B petitions were filed from outside the US. So this number will probably become 0 and students in the United States will now have all those slots open for them. And this is great news if you're an international student, because what it means is that companies now will be assured that you as a student are more likely to get an H1B than before. And this means that they are more likely to invest in you in terms of recruiting you as well as in terms of training you. Now, before you get too happy and think that the job market in the US is suddenly going to ease out because of this, let me caution one thing. The proclamation that was signed by Donald Trump is not clear on one thing. It mentions that you require or your company requires to pay the $100,000 fee every time you enter the United States. The government has now clarified that those people who are already on the H1B do not need to pay this $100,000 fee, but they have not clarified whether you as a student, once you get your H1B and transfer to an H1B in the United States, whether you will need to pay this fee if you ever leave the US in the future and wish to come back. So this could mean that while you get your H1B in the US for free and your employer does not have to pay the $100,000, if you do decide to leave the United States and re-enter, you might have to pay the amount. Why do I say might? Because the proclamation is not clear about this. So you need to treat carefully. You need to probably talk to an immigration lawyer before you decide to leave the United States in the future, if ever you happen to be on the H1B. There are a few other points with respect to this proclamation that are a bit uncertain. The first part is that Donald Trump in the proclamation has mentioned that certain industries, certain companies and certain job roles will be exempt from this $100,000 fee. And the proclamation goes on to say that it is those job roles, those companies and those industries that are of national importance which will be exempt from the $100,000 fee. But the proclamation does not get into the details of what these job roles, companies or industries are. So if you are a student who's planning to fly to the United States or who's already studying in the United States, you need to, as soon as possible, talk to an immigration lawyer and try to find out what these industries, job roles or companies are. And if you're a student already from outside the United States planning to apply, try to find that out right now and apply to those sorts of courses which will get you the kinds of jobs that would be exempt from this $100,000 fee. The other thing that is uncertain is that the proclamation clearly states that it is valid only for a duration of 12 months. Now, you might be happy knowing that this is applicable only for 12 months, but I actually think that this is not a good deal. And the reason for that is simple. The moment you say that a particular rule or law is applicable only for 12 months, what it means is it gives the government the flexibility to change the rules in the future. And therefore, there is no clarity in terms of what the long-term policy is going to be, which will make investing in an education in the United States for you as a student and giving you a job as an international student for companies more risky. The first change that was brought about by the Donald Trump government, the proclamation, is already in effect. The second change is actually just a proposal which has not yet been finalized by the US government. And the second change has to do with how the lottery system is conducted. As of 2025, as of right now, the way the lottery is done is simple. You have close to 5 lakh applicants and each applicant is entered into the lottery once, and at random 85,000 people get the H1B. This is how the system currently works. In effect, there is no measure of merit or it does not depend upon what sort of salary you are drawing in the United States. Donald Trump seeks to change this. So under the new proposal, he will divide all applicants into 4 different levels. You have level 1 with people with the lowest salary and level 4 with people with the highest salary, right? And the higher your level, the more the number of times your application is entered into the lottery, which means that at higher levels, you have a higher chance of getting the H1B. So how does this work? If your salary meets the threshold to be, let's say, in level 3, then your application would be put thrice in the lottery. If your salary is in level 1, then your application will basically be entered only once. And so this means that you need to fight for higher salaries to get a better chance at getting the H1B. So therefore, the natural question that you might want to know is, okay, what is the salary threshold that I need to have to meet level 1, level 2, level 3 and level 4? And this is where things become slightly complicated. There isn't actually a set number. The salary threshold is relative based on the kind of job you are getting and the location in which you are getting the job. So this means that just because you have a higher salary doesn't automatically mean that you qualify for a higher level. It is all relative to the kind of job you get and the location where you get the job. The US government publishes prevailing wages for different occupations in different areas of the United States every year. And so the salary thresholds that you need will be based on the different wage levels for that occupation in that location. For example, if you work as a software engineer in the San Francisco Bay Area and draw a salary of 150,000, you would be considered level 1. But at the same salary, that is $150,000, if you're working as a data scientist in Austin, Texas, your salary would meet the threshold to be level 4. So you need to be very careful as to how much salary other people are drawing in your location for the occupation that you are working in. Now, while there is no set number for the salary thresholds, there are set percentiles. So for you to meet level 1, your salary needs to be 17th percentile or higher for your occupation in your location. To meet the criteria for level 2, your salary needs to be at the 34th percentile or higher. To meet the criteria for level 3, your salary needs to be at the 50th percentile or higher. And to meet level 4, your salary needs to be at the 64th percentile or higher. So what is the implication of all of this? Well, first and foremost, what this means is that you as a student in the United States need to fight for jobs that are paying you higher than what others are paying. And typically, it is the large multinationals that are able to offer higher salaries. Startups typically rely on equity compensation or on stock-based compensation, but unfortunately, that would not be considered as a part of your salary for the purposes of the H1-B lottery, because equity and stocks are non-cash components of your salaries. And so this means that going forward, you will see higher competition of people applying to large companies, the Mang, the Fang kind of companies or other large manufacturing companies, and fewer number of people applying for startup kind of jobs. So in conclusion, what does all of this mean for you as an international student? Well, for the most part, these changes are actually positive for international students. For one, the fact that companies from India or from other parts of the world are now no longer going to be able to apply for the H1B without paying the $100,000 means that there are more H1B slots available for those students who do go to the United States. Secondly, those students who have a strong profile or who graduate from top-ranked American institutions are more likely to get higher-paying jobs, which will give them a better chance at securing the H1B based on the wage-based proposal which has been proposed by the Trump administration. Now, while all of this does sound positive, the flip side is the increased anxiety that students are now going to face, because there are changes in the policy for H1B and visas in the United States almost every month now. All right. And so if you're planning to study in the United States, by all means do go ahead, because these changes are positive. However, do keep a backup option with you. When you apply to American universities, apply only to the top ranked ones, because those are the universities that are going to get you the high paying jobs. Also apply to a few universities from other countries depending upon which course you wish to study. And finally, decide whether you want to go to the United States or not based on the quality of admit. If you get into a top ranked university in the United States, please do go ahead with that. The job opportunities, the teaching quality, the research funding, the brand recall, everything is simply unmatched. But if you get into a mid-tier university in the United States, my recommendation is going to be that you actually go to a country where the visa policies are actually more stable and do not change so often. It could be something in Asia, it could be something in Europe even. Now, this is the changes that have been proposed by the Donald Trump government, and we have done our best to break that down for you and explain to you who this affects and who this does not affect. However, I'm sure that you might have certain questions about this, more detailed questions about this. If you do, please drop your questions in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them as soon as we can. And if you like this video, do like the video, do share this video, and do subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in the next one.